Welcome to the Food Bloggers Table. Pull up a chair for authentic conversations and actionable advice from fellow food bloggers and industry experts. I'm your host, Jen, and I create custom food blogs designed to earn top-tier ad income. Join us now at the table as we break bread and build brands. One of the biggest things most food bloggers seek is ad revenue, because the nice thing about being a food blogger is if you have good recipes, then you can get a lot of traffic. So that's really exciting. But it's a little daunting too, because some of these numbers, I know to get on Mediavine, you have to have 50,000 sessions. That's a lot of sessions, even if people are coming to your site. I know you were on an ad network prior to reaching the threshold for Mediavine. So can you kind of just walk us through sort of what your timeline looked like and how your ad income has changed over time? And then what were some of the big factors that you think sort of changed the game for you?
So I started with She Media. It was early 2020. For a couple months, I was at She Media and made a couple hundred, if that, a month. Then I finally got onto Mediavine in 2020 and made about $1,000 a month that year. Then 2021, I kept implementing everything I had learned prior to being a first-time mom. I did focus on more projects and sponsorships, things like that, as opposed to ad network and page views. I think because I was still learning too a lot about how to navigate motherhood and being a full-time blogger at the same time. So I was able to double my income in 2021 from what I made with Mediavine, which wasn't a whole lot. I wouldn't say I was full-time, but it was more than I had ever made blogging. Then in 2022, once I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit more, I had doubled that Mediavine income and was making more than I was at my hotel job. Wow. And I always said, I'm not going to call myself a full-time blogger unless I'm either matching my income or making more. Of course, I always want to make more. So I finally was able to make more than I was. And I did have a couple big sponsorships that year too, but I wasn't really focusing as much on sponsorship and projects. I was focusing more this time on page views, SEO, how to optimize old posts, things like that. Then in 2023, I tripled my income. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on how to optimize. And it was basically just a lot of keyword research. I really got into the trenches of it and trying to really digging deep. And I also got a food blogger coach back in 2021, and she had kind of helped me there too, and she was super helpful. And then in 2024, after really figuring things out, and I feel like I have a good idea and I'm always still learning, but I had made six figures and only 10% of it was from sponsorship. So a majority was just based off of Mediavine and ad network and traffic. But I would say keyword research is my go-to because that's what works for me. That's what made my page views really jump. Like I said, if I wanted to make something, I would, but I'm not just going to make something for fun. I really have to strategize and be smart about what I'm doing. So like, for instance, a cake, like I love taking cupcake photos, or obviously, I love cookies, Rice Krispie treats. If you look, I have a variety of Rice Krispie treats, but 90% of my most recent from like 2022 on, there is a ton of research that went into every single post keyword in there. And then I've invested in different platforms like Rank IQ, SEMrush. Those are the ones that I use to really get my content optimized. And then Pinterest, just different ideas. If I see something that I really like, I'll put the keyword in and then see how high the volume is. And then I always try to go for density.
Right.
So that's kind of like my thing. So high keyword volume and keyword density has to be low. And if the keyword is low, it's okay. As long as I could rank 1 to 3 on Google, I am happy, because that's the ultimate goal. I feel like as a food blogger is at least getting onto the first page of Google. And I know with all the new Google updates, I mean, it's kind of taken not a toll, but all the AI stuff has really affected food bloggers. So that's been kind of frustrating because we're all trying to figure out how to get on the first page of Google. And then you have the AI page that's like taking over. And that's just been super frustrating. I feel like just the different updates will eventually get all the AI stuff out, crossing my fingers. But yes, still focusing on all the keyword research.
And I think one thing that we need to circle back to is when you and I worked together and we did the redesign in 2023, because you said at that point you had doubled 2022 and had doubled the year
And I
before.
had Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I do think that the redesign had something to do with it because you even said it's going to take. I always thought, oh my gosh, Google's going to freak out and think that something happened to my website as it normally does. But you're like, don't freak out. It may take a month or two. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to be busy anyways. Like, I'm not going to be able to check every single day. Once it all got kind of pushed out into the Google world, everything was fine.
Well, and I think that after we did the redesign, one of the things that was really scary was I'm pretty sure, wasn't it October of 2023 when the huge helpful content update from Google hit? And I think it bears noting that you had a redesign done. So we did all that late spring, early summer. We got that pushed out. So that was new, and Google was kind of rerunning everything and processing everything. And then the helpful content update rolled out. You took a period of time off, and you
Mhm.
still, with all that sort of stacked against you, maternity leave, HCU, all that, you still doubled your income, which I think we need to take a moment for that because that's crazy. All those things were going on because you were, again, very strategic in how you did it and making sure that the money you were investing was money that you were going to get a nice return on the investment.
Right. And I did work really hard before I had both Gianna and Mia, my two daughters. My goal in 2021, I think it was to publish 100 new recipes that year. So
Wow.
that's like, I mean, and you know, 6 to 8 at least new recipes a month, which is a hard thing to
It
do
is. It is.
without kids. So in 2022, I'm like, okay, you know what? I do not need to publish that many new recipes. I
Right.
need to focus on updating old content because my top 10 recipes to this day are still recipes that I made 2019, 2018. One of them is from, well, they're all older recipes. So I have to continue updating those. I've updated the photos for those,
Mhm.
added in keywords. I try not to forget about my old content, but that's the stuff that kind of keeps my blog alive. And that's what I think a lot of bloggers forget.
I
And so what
agree.
last year was to update at least 2 new blog posts a month. I
Mhm.
try to always publish one new recipe a week, so 4 a month, and then update 1 to 2 at least old recipes that needs a boost in Google.
That's really a good idea. Like you said, I think that we forget because it's like, okay, well, that's done. Woo, okay. You mark it off the list and then you're going,
You feel like a
you're
hamster on a
going,
wheel. It's like, wait a minute, I just busted out 100 new recipes, but why are my top 10 recipes still, cheese and chive
exactly.
in 2019?
And that's when it's so important to look at the data because, we get hung up on the vanity metrics. You hear that terminology, vanity metrics, like, how many Instagram followers do I have? Well, that's irrelevant if none of them interact with anything. But it's like, oh, well, how many email subscribers do I have? Well, again, that can be an irrelevant number unless they're engaging with the emails that you're sending out. So all numbers and all the data that we see and that we are gathering at any point in time, it's useless unless we're doing something with it. So if you are looking and you are seeing, you can go in Google Analytics, or if you have an analytics plugin of some sort, you can look at what are the top performing posts, whether it's by month, whether it's by year, or whatever. You can look and consistently see there are going to be some that without a doubt are always in your top
Mhm.
spots.
Sometimes I won't even mess with the updates if they're doing good. You're not supposed to, golden rule, you're not supposed to mess with anything that's still doing good.
Yes.
It's really good, but so a lot of the times I'll leave it alone.
I know. And it's like you're going, this Pinterest pin is true garbage. Why would anybody pin this? But for whatever reason, it has gotten where it needs to be in front of the people it needs to be in front of, and it's sending traffic. So, whatever that data is telling you, go with it. And I would love for you to speak a little bit on how ads fluctuate. Because if somebody's new to the ads game and they're freaking out because January is like in the toilet compared to December, I know fourth quarter, as a general rule for most food bloggers, is going to be the most lucrative. Even a large percentage of what maybe they do for the whole year will come from that fourth quarter
Right.
view.
Yep. January is usually my lowest month, and then December is the best. And my blog does really well seasonal because I have a ton of holiday recipes. So, like for
Mhm.
Valentine's Day, Christmas, obviously, I did a cookie series this year just to test it out, and that did really good. It was 7
Nice.
new recipes, a week full of cookies, and I did a whole week of reels, which I feel like I do more than 7 new recipes, anyways. But it's
Uh-huh.
just super fun because it's like a series, and there's going to be a new cookie recipe a day. So that was fun. But I do really well seasonal. I try to get really festive with the treats because it's cute for classroom parties or
Abs-
kids. So I've always, I felt like, had a passion for that. But then once I had kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really love
Oh,
doing all these.
yes. And I think you can tap into traffic that otherwise you might not generally always have. Because as a teacher by trade, in my former life, when I was an elementary school teacher, teachers can make a holiday out of anything. I mean, there are so so many national whatever days. You can look and find national whatever day you want it to be. And if there's a way that you as a food blogger can tap into seasonal content, you're going to be able to tap into a market that traditionally wouldn't just be visiting your site all the time and pad those numbers.
That's right. And a lot has to do with Instagram too. I feel like just in the holidays, people get so excited about finding cute things to make on Instagram. And I mean, I really bumped my followers up in 2022. I posted Grinch cake mix cookies and I over almost 15,000 followers in the month of December just from this viral post. And then I had another one in Valentine's Day. I made cake mix truffles and I gained another couple thousand followers. So I feel like these seasons kind of help my Instagram followers grow too. And then obviously that leads to more traffic for my blog, which is the ultimate goal. I want people to come to my blog to actually stay on my blog and come back to it. For if they make cookies, that's great. But how about trying an appetizer recipe or how to make a quick meal for your family if you're a busy family? So I don't want it to just be a one and done. I hope to get them even onto my email list. That's another part of my blog that I have a VA as well because I don't like doing any type of email. It just takes so much of my time and I don't get a huge return on it. So, but I still want those who do enjoy getting emails because I send out a survey every year and like 90% of them want a weekly email because I ask them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel
Can
bad.
you not want that, please?
I know, but I do. And, even though I don't get much return on it, I still send a weekly email.
I appreciate your authenticity to say that it's not my favorite thing, but if it's what my readers want and it's what my email subscribers want and they're on my list because they want to be here, I want to provide them with what it is they're looking for.
It kind of makes them feel like they are engaging with me, even though it's not me sending the email, but it is my recipes and it's everything that they pull from my website. So
it's being curated for them. And I think that's the thing. They don't necessarily care who's doing the curating because it's still your content, which it goes right back to the first conversation we had about you being the recipe developer. It doesn't necessarily matter who takes the pictures, but you're the recipe developer. They want your recipes from you. Someone else is just curating them in a nice little package and sending them via email. And so I think that's brilliant. And the thing about ad revenue that so many people don't consider, it's a whole lot easier to hold on to someone than it is to get a new someone onto your site. So if someone has come to your site previously and they have viewed, consumed some content in some form or fashion, it's much easier to keep that person coming back because hopefully they've really liked what they've seen and they're going to stay on there. And if you want increases in ad revenue, you want more people on the site. That's kind of a given, but that's where so many people stop. They don't realize that it's not just getting a lot of people on the site. That's step one. Step two is getting them to stay on the site to read the post.
Everyone's not going to read the whole entire post. And I try to be as structured as possible. Back in 2016, I would be writing, oh, I made these cookies for blah, blah, blah. And, I kind of wrote a story about it. I don't care about looking at other people's blogs with a story. I mean, if it's like, oh, this is my grandma's recipe.
Right.
But if it's like, oh, just giving a pointless story about like that I used to write on my content, that doesn't do anything for my readers or for SEO. So just like all the other bloggers, we have come up with structured blog posts. I'll say a little blurb about it and then why you'll love this recipe, why you need these key ingredients, how to make it, tips, recipe variations, leftovers, just things that you want to see, not so much of storytelling. And of course, if it is a sentimental recipe or whatever reason, share it. But I try to make it user friendly. And every now and then you'll get a grumpy person and say, you have so many ads on your website. I couldn't even get to the recipe because of all the ads or all the content. It's like, I was just helping you. And then, of course, you get a free recipe on my website. So I just ignore the comments. I do make it easy and I don't get a cent for it. You jump to recipe button. All you have to do is press the button and then it goes straight to the recipe. So you get to skip everything entirely. And you could even print it. So I do have that easy and I don't get anything for that. So,
but I will say what I appreciate is you knowing your audience. If your audience is coming because they need quick meals and they need something fast, you're like, let's cut the fluff. Let's say what we need to say. Here's the variations. You can tweak this, you can add this, you can take this out, you can do whatever you can help me with. I think of it like a Cliff's Notes version, it's like, oh, here's a quick variation. Oh, there's the recipe. But if I go to your site as a consumer and I read that and I see, even if I just jump to the recipe and I see, oh, that's really nice. I like that. oh, I'm going to come back to her site because A, I like it. It's easy to navigate, find what I need. And I appreciate the fact that it looks the same every post. So in other words, I don't have to think the next time I go to read your content, oh gosh, where's the variation part? It's easier if you templatify. That's not a word, but I think it should be trademark. No, if you templatify your posts, it makes it easier as a blogger to always just follow the same process. But two, I think it makes it easier for your readers. There's no decision fatigue because they don't have to figure out where the variation is or where the allergy friendly content is or wherever. They're just looking and they feel like they're home. You want a lot of traffic on your site, but you want those people to be happy with what they're finding so that they stay on the site longer and navigate the site, which is why you need the search buttons, why you need a design that is intuitive, that readers don't have to think, where would I find appetizers? Like, I don't even know in the menu because I can't make sense of the menu. And I love a good alliteration. Like, I love a cutesy moment, but at the same time, it doesn't really have its place in a navigation. So I think that that's one of the things we need to think about. Traffic, we need to be driving the traffic. But once that traffic's there, what are we doing with them? Are we giving them what they want? Are we taking them on a journey that is so intuitive they don't have to think? They can go on there, they can click around, they can go to that filterable recipe index. They can go, okay, let me look at the appetizers. Oh, and yeah, I'm going to need an appetizer for Valentine's Day. What you got? And you put your best stuff in front of them. That is a good experience. Our job is to curate an authentic experience for people that speaks to the readers that are on the site. So if you have a lot of people that are coming to your site because you are nostalgic and you talk about your grandma's recipes, then absolutely tell that story. That is beautiful. But if you're doing recipes for moms who are like, got a toddler in one arm and groceries in the other arm, and they're using their feet to get in and out of the doors, give them the recipe real quick. That's what they need.
Yeah. And that's where the jump to recipe button comes in handy
Perfect.
to them, or, whatever they want to do with it.
Absolutely. That
They
is
can,
so true. So
making their
anything else you can think of related to ads that we didn't touch on that has really sort of helped you make the leap when you shifted to fewer sponsorships and brand work and really went more into getting the income from ads?
I think I realized, I'm only one person and I can't do all of the things that I used to do, working with brands, doing all these types of social media platforms, creating 8 recipes a month. I just can't do it all. So that's why I really focused on creating good quality recipes with high keyword volume and low keyword density. That's always my goal. I mean, and like I said, it doesn't always have to have the high keyword volume as long as I could rank on Google. The first page is the ultimate goal, but just really not doing everything at one time because it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think once I kind of dropped all those things, of course, I still use Instagram. I still use Pinterest because it all helps my business, but just kind of letting go. I used to apply for all the sponsorships and, oh my gosh, I want to work with this company. And now if it falls on my lap because they reached out, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. And I will only work with companies that I really love if it fits my brand. And, I'm not going to just pick anyone. And it really has to kind of align with my business as well.
And I think that just circles right back to that authenticity. When you know who it is you're serving, you know who you are, and you know where you as a person and your brand meet, I think that's the sweet spot. And I think people sense that when they come on the site because it's like they always know what to expect in a good way.
It's my time. So I'm not going to work for this company. I don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm going to spend that time creating a new recipe or taking photos or doing other things. I'm not going to just say yes to everyone or anyone.
When you have just a little bit of time, you have to make really strategic decisions that are going to be the best ROI of your time.
Exactly. I had to shut down. I felt so horrible about this, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that because, like I said, December is my time to do all the fun Christmas things with my kids. I don't like to be on a strict timeline. It's just kind of like summer. I know some bloggers like to take summer off. December is kind of my time to do fun things. So it was with Betty Crocker, and it was just too much work in such a small amount of time. And I didn't want to have to be stressed. I didn't want any timelines. And I just had to say no. It was just kind of like, okay, you don't have to do things that you don't want to, even though Betty Crocker is a huge brand and it would have been a good opportunity. But at the end of the day, I focused on other things that made more sense to my business.
That's brilliant. I think that's when you know you're a strategic decision maker for your business, when you can turn down lucrative options because you know they don't align best with you, your business model. And it's equal parts amazing and scary scary that we're the ones that get to decide what we do and don't do. We get to decide who we work with. And it's terrifying because there's this fear that if we don't work with them, oh my gosh, that was an open door. And now, oh, I'm never going to work with another brand again. So there's that fear, I think, that fixed mindset that nope, there's only so many opportunities that I'm going to get. And this is it. This is it. This is the only opportunity I'm ever going to have in my whole life.
I used to think like that. And oh my gosh, I have to say yes. But I haven't reached out to a company to work with them in years. And I'm still getting sponsorships and I pick the ones that I want to work with, but I'm okay with not working with them either. Just kind of whatever's right for my business is what I'm going to do.
I love that so much. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Food Bloggers Table. I'm your host, Jennifer Holt, and I look forward to serving you in the next episode.